Hello everyone, my name is Mrs. Asma. I will be your science teacher for the next homeschool videos. Let's take a tour in our new curriculum for primary 4. Theme 1, we are going to talk about systems and we'll start with living systems. We have 4 concepts, each one consists of 6 lessons. We'll start with adaptation and survival. So what's the meaning of adaptation and survival? All living organisms need to survive, and to survive they need to make adaptation. So one example of adaptation, we are going to ask this question for all the living organisms in these pictures. How these living organisms protect itself from extreme heat of the sun. The first picture of the stayed Agama lizard. How it can protect itself from the extreme heat in the desert. Of course, they try to find a shaded, cool area to protect itself in the hot, sunny days. So what about palm trees? Can they find a shaded area? Of course not. So they have another way to adapt. And this way is with a waxy layer that found on the top of the leaves that protect them from the extreme hot climate. While human, of course, they can protect themselves from hot climate by simply using an umbrella or light clothes. So each of the previous living organisms has its own way to protect themselves from the extreme hot climate. And these different ways, we call them adaptation. Let's discover a new different part of the world, which are the pole regions. Where the North Pole, we call it Arctic, the Arctic region, and the South Pole, we call it Antarctica. The 2 poles of the Earth are very cold, so they are extreme cold. Let's visit Antarctica, where penguins live. Did you ask yourself before how penguins can adapt this extreme cold weather in Antarctica? So adaptation is simply characteristic of living organisms that allows them to change over generations and help them to survive and reproduce in the ecosystem. Climate is considered one reason for adaptation. Like the penguins, as we said. Can you stand on ice in bare feet for about 5 minutes? Can a penguin walk on ice for a long period of time? Yes. So why? Of course they have a sort of adaptation that allows them to do so. Penguin makes different adaptation to be able to live in polar climate that is characterized by extreme cold. The habitat of penguins is Antarctica, as we said before, and it is one of the coldest places on Earth. The first adaptation penguins make that they have an insulating layer of fat and thick downy feathers that trap warm air against the skin to keep its body warm in the freezing cold. Also, the penguin's toe feet have no feathers, no fat. It can stand around on the ice all the day. This happens due to the way of movement of blood in blood vessels through the penguin's feet. As we can see, this is the structure of the penguin's feet. Blood vessels bring cold blood up from the feet. And also other blood vessels bring warm blood down to the feet from the feather-coated body. So the feathers and the fat layer make the blood vessels warm, and the blood vessels bring them down, while the blood vessels in the toes of the feet of the penguin bring cold blood up. The warm blood vessels wave around the cold blood vessels. They wave around, as you can see, it coils when they meet, where the warm blood vessels heat up the cold blood vessels, so the heat transfers to the penguin's feet. Just like when you hold a hot cup of tea to feel warm. This means that the blood moving up into the penguin's body is not cold, and the blood moving down to the penguin's toes is warm enough to keep its toes from freezing. Now let's check your understanding. True or false? Number 1. The blood vessels coming upward from the penguin's feet carry warm blood? Of course not, because the blood coming up are cold blood. Number 2. Penguins can adapt to live in extreme cold environment by having feathers and fat in their feet? No, not in their feet. They are having feathers and fat, but in their body. The feet is exactly the opposite. They don't have any feathers or fat. We have visited Antarctica, which is found in the south pole of the Earth, where the penguin live. Now let's visit the Arctic region, which is found in the north pole of the Earth, where the incredible polar bear live. And now let's study an interesting example of adaptation that we call camouflage, in which some animals hide from their predators or their prey by blending in with the surrounding environments. So let's discover together some animals that survive in their environments through camouflage. First one, the polar bear. As we know, they live in Arctic region, and they adapt by camouflage using their thick white fur. It's white fur to help them blend in with snow. As we know, they live in the Arctic region, and the polar region is snowy, so the environment around them is full of snow, and snow of course is white, so their thick fur, their white thick fur, can blend in with the environment, so they can easily hide from their predators and their prey. And the thick fur helps them stays warm in the cold Arctic world. The second example are brown bears and dark bears. They live in forests, so they do the camouflage in a different way. They have dark fur that helps them stay hidden among the trees as they hunt. The third example is caracal and fennec fox, and of course they live in a different habitat, which is desert. So they are surrounded by sand. That's why the camouflage is by using their sandy colored fur or tan colored fur to help them hide and blend in with desert landscape. Caracal are carnivores, which means they eat meat only, while fennec fox are omnivores, and this means that they can eat plants and meat. Number 4, some types of lizards, and their habitat is some types of lizards live in desert, while others live in other environments among quite colorful rocks. So they have colorful scales that make them hard to see among the rocks. So let's check your understanding. True or false? Polar bear has a dark fur to blend in with the snow? Of course not. A polar bear has white fur to blend in with snow. Number 2, in a polar region, a fennec fox preys a young polar bear? Of course not, because fennec fox lives in a different habitat, which is desert, while polar bear lives in the Arctic region. So now we all understand what the meaning of adaptation. But you have to know that there is two main types of adaptation. First one is structural adaptation, and second one is behavioral adaptation. So what's the difference between structural and behavioral? Structural or physical adaptation means that there is a change in the structure of the animal's body to adapt its environment. So there is something found in the animal's body to allow him to adapt to the environment. While the behavioral adaptation, it's also a change, but not in the structure of its body. It's in the behavior or in his act. So let's take examples. For the structural adaptation, the blood vessels in the penguin's feet that we take before, it's a type of structural adaptation. It's something already found in the structure of the animal's body to allow the animal to adapt its environment. Also, the white thick fur in the polar bear, it allows the polar bear to adapt the environment, and it's found in its body. It's a change in its body. While the behavioral adaptation, like the lizard, the desert lizard, that looks for a shade during hot sun days, it's nothing to do with his body. It's an act or a behavior. It's a change in his behavior. He found that it's extreme hot and it's too hot and it's sunny, so he tried to find or search for a shade area. So this is a behavior. It's an act that the animal do to adapt its environment. Also, another example for behavioral adaptation is migration. What's the meaning of migration? Migration means traveling of some animals long distance at a certain time of the year to a certain place. But why they travel from a place to another? When the environment where they live is extreme hot, or there is a lack of food, or there is a lack of water, so they have to survive. So how they can survive in this environment? So they can do migration. They travel to another place to find suitable weather, or a place where is food and water to drink and to eat. Adaptation of foxes to survive in their environments. Starting with the fennec fox. As we said before, habitat of fennec fox is the hot deserts. So they make two different types of adaptation that we took: structural adaptation and behavioral adaptation. So what are the structural adaptations the fennec fox do? As we said, the structural, it means that it's something, a change in the body of the animal. So what is the change in the body of the fennec fox. They have tan colored coat or sandy colored fur that provides camouflage to hide in sandy rocky environment to protect them also from the hot sun. Also they has extra large ears, as you can see in the picture. They has extra large ears. So why they have a large ears? It helps them to lose the heat, to cool the body. As we talked before in the penguins, if you remember, the structure of the feet of the penguin, to warm it up, this is the opposite of the penguin's feet. So the heat in the ears lose the heat to cool the body. It's the same idea but different structure. Also they have special shape of ears that allow excellent hearing to help fennec fox hunt. The fennec fox, they have a super sense of hearing that allows them to hear prey even underground. And for the behavioral adaptation, they pant like dogs. What's the meaning of pants? Dogs are all the time panting, like like taking breaths, too many breaths per minute, and it takes up to 700 breaths per minute to cool its body for the fennec fox. Also, they live in burrows. So they make burrows. So this is an act. It's a behavior. Also, panting is a behavior, which are excellent places to stay cool during the sunny days. So to stay cool during the sunny days, they dig burrows. So they dig burrows to stay cool away from the sun. Also, it eats different kinds of food, like insects, fruits, plant roots, and even leftovers from other animals' prey, because food can be hard to find at the hot, dry deserts. So that's why they are omnivores. They can eat plants or meat, or fruits or insects or different types of food, because it's very hard to find food in deserts. Number 2, the Arctic fox. The habitat of the Arctic fox is the tundra. And the tundra is a different type of desert with temperature as cold as 50 degrees below zero in the winter months. So you can see how cold it is in tundra. So they have they use two different types of adaptation as well, structural and behavioral. The structural here, as we said, it's found in the body of the animal. So they have a thick fur coat to keep its body warm in extreme cold climate. Its fur coat is white during winter. Oh, so they have another color? Yes. It turns brown actually in summer when the snow melts to help it sneaks up on prey in any season. It has short ears, and this is the opposite of fennec fox. The short ears and legs to help it stays warm. So the fennec fox has large ears to keep him cool in the hot desert, while here in the Arctic fox he should do the opposite. So they have short ears and legs, so they keep warm during winter season, in the extreme cold weather. And also the shape of the ear, just like the fennec fox, allow excellent hearing. So the shape, as you can see, the shape of the Arctic fox ears and also the fennec fox ears, it's like a satellite that allow excellent hearing to help the Arctic fox hunts. And also they can hear praise even if they are underground. And now the behavioral adaptation. As we said, the behavioral adaptation means a change in their acts. It's an act or a behavior they do. So they also dig burrows, which are excellent places for it to stay warm at night. So this is the same act or behavior of the fennec fox, but for a different reason. Both they dig burrow, but the fennec fox to stay cool, while the Arctic fox to stay warm in the snow and in the extreme cold weather. And also it eats different kinds of food, like insects, fruits, plant roots, and even leftovers of from another animal's prey, because food can be hard to find also in the cold tundra. So this also is the same behavior of the fennec fox in the tundra, but to an opposite reason. So here also in the tundra, it's too cold, it's also too hard to find food. That's why they they, they, they can eat different types of food. Number 3, bull shark. They live in fresh water and salt water. But how? A bull shark is the only type of sharks that can live in both fresh water and salt water. And we are gonna know why. Starting with the structural adaptation, the body of shark is adapted to survive in fresh water, so it has a unique advantage over other sharks. It has a dark back and white belly that causes the following. When an animal swimming above the bull shark, looking down into the ocean, may not see the shark in the shadows due to its dark back. So if anyone is swimming above the bull shark, he thinks that the color is the color of the ocean. While the opposite, if someone or an animal swimming underneath the bull shark and looking up, the bull shark may blend in with the bright light of the sun due to its white belly. So the white belly of the shark, it seems like it's a bright light of the sun. So the bull shark can sneak up on prey using a camouflage strategy called bull shark counter-shading. Counter-shading means he's making camouflage in both ways, in two ways. So he have camouflage from above and from under. It has also sharp teeth to help it sneak up its prey and tear their flesh. So what about the behavioral adaptation? As we said, it's an act, it's a behavior, a change in the behavior. So what is the behavior that the bull shark do to make adaptation? They can hunt in different places, like salt water or fresh water. So it can feed on different types of food. So he's different from any other shark because he has plenty of food found in the fresh water and in salt water. Also, it hunts in the day as well as the night. So he's different also from other animals that they are only active at night or during day. No, they are different. They can hunt during daytime and also during nighttime. So its prey cannot ever predict when this bull shark will hunt next time. Note, in freshwater, bull sharks have less competition for finding food because there are no other sharks live in freshwater to share the bull shark its food. So this is an advantage for the bull shark. Now let's study lizards. But before, just let me remind you with the 5 groups of animals, which are mammals, fish, birds, amphibians, and reptiles. Starting by mammals, as you remember, they breastfeed and they give birth. Fish, they lay eggs and they live in water and they have fins and scales. And they breathe through gills. Birds, most of them can fly, they lay eggs, and they have feathers. Amphibians, they can live on land or in water, and in water they lay eggs, and they have moist skin. And finally, reptiles, they lay eggs and they have scales. They breathe through lungs, just like turtles and lizards. So back to lizards. So lizards are from reptiles that are an ancient type of animals. Their bodies are covered with scales. Examples of lizards, like the staired agama lizard that live in very hot deserts. Also like the panther chameleon that lives in tropical rainforests. Adaptation of the panther chameleon to survive in its environment. The panther chameleon, the habitat is a tropical rainforest. We will study first the structural adaptation. So as we said, it's a change in the animal's body. First, it has brightly colored scales that provide camouflage with its surrounding environment that contains green leaves and colorful flowers. So as you can see, the scales are very colorful because the rainforest have very different colors of flowers and trees. So it helps the panther chameleon to camouflage. Also, chameleon eyes move in opposite directions. As you can see, the eye can move independently from the other. So one eye can be searching for something to eat, like insects, while the other eye is on the lookout for danger in a totally different direction. This adaptation allows the panther chameleon to hunt its prey and avoid becoming a prey at the same time. So one searching for food and the other eye is protecting itself from predators. Also, it has very long sticky tongue to hunt insects for feeding. So the panther chameleon is too slow, so the tongue is very long to allow a very fast hunting, and also it's sticky, so it can stick to the prey and hunt it fast. Finally, the V-shaped feet. we can see the shape of the leg, the feet of the panther chameleon is it takes the shape of the V, and that to hold tightly the branches of trees. Here is obvious the V shape of the feet, and see how it can hold tightly the branch with the feet and also with the tail. And here how it can camouflage, change its color, and the movement of the eye. The behavioral adaptation. Again, behavioral adaptation means a change in the behavior or the act. So the chameleon finds itself in danger. It doesn't have teeth or claws. So how it could defend itself? It has a last trick to scare its attacker, where it appears as fierce as follows. It puffs up its body with air. It opens its mouth wide. It changes the colors of its scales. Now is lesson 3, plant adaptations. So how? Do plants do adaptations too? Yes, of course. Starting with the three plants we see in the pictures. First, the water lily plant, where the water lily plant grows and survives. Do you think in the desert, or snow, or wetland? Of course, wetland. And we studied before the water lily, and they live on the river Nile, and it was very famous with the ancient Egyptians. Number 2, the pine trees. Pine trees also is well-known trees. Everyone knows the pine tree. It's a lovely Christmas tree. Where it grow and survive? Is it in desert, snow, or wetland? Right, of course, in snow. And last is a cactus plant. A cactus plant grows and survives in desert or snow or wetland. Of course, in desert. Plants can grow in every place that sunlight shines. Even the bottom of sea ice polar regions has tiny plants growing on it. Like animals, plants have structural and behavioral adaptations that help them survive and grow in their environments. Are you excited to know how they do behavioral adaptations? Let's study together. We are going to study two terrific trees, the acacia tree and the kapok tree. Both trees have umbrella shape, as you can see in the pictures, but they both live in totally different regions. The acacia tree lives in savanna forest in southern Africa, while the kapok tree lives in Amazon rainforest of Brazil. So what are their characteristics? The savanna forest in southern Africa is characterized by its grassland habitat. The temperature in savanna forest is mild. Mild means average. It's not very hot or very cold. In the savanna, there is extreme lack of water during the dry season, which lasts for half of the year. It means 6 months without rainfall. Savanna forest is characterized by drought conditions, so most of large plants can grow. When you look over the savanna, you can see one large tree scattered throughout the landscape, which is acacia tree. And the characteristics of the Amazon rainforest: it is easy to find water. It is rainy most of the year, so it's hard for plants in the rainforest to reach sunlight. The rainforest has a soggy soil. Soggy means moist, which means that it is a wet, muddy soil. The rainforest is characterized by strong winds. The trees in the rainforest grow up to 70 meters tall. It's too high. There is a tree that emerges high above other trees, which is caper tree. Starting by the acacia tree. We'll start with the structural adaptation. So, as we said before, structural adaptation means it's a change in the body, but now for the plant, not the animal. So what is the structural adaptation in the acacia tree? It has different types of roots. It's very long roots that grows directly downward, known as the taproot. This root reaches for water as deep as 35 meters below the soil surface. Can you imagine how long it is? 35 meters. Also, it has a different trunk. Its trunk is very long, so most animals except giraffe cannot reach its leaves to feed on. Also, acacia tree stores water in its trunks. The leaves. It has tiny leaves growing on its top to help it hold in water while soaking up sunlight needed to make food. Its leaves have sharp spines to protect them from hungry mouths of animals. Leaves of acacia tree is adapted to survive through many months of drought in its environment. So the leaf has spines. When any animal try to eat the leaves, it will find the spines, so it will stop eating them. Also, these spines allow the adaptation for the tree to survive the drought. When it lasts 6 months of no rainfall, so it's dry, very dry, lead to drought in this environment. So it helps the acacia adapt this environment. Also, the trunk in acacia tree stores water as the hump in the camel stores fat. Everyone knows that the camel have humps, and this humps is storing fats. The trunk in the acacia tree is like the hump of the camel, but storing water. Now with the behavioral adaptation. Of course, you are thinking now, how could the plants make a behavioral adaptation? Do they act? Do they make a behavior? How? Yes, they do. Actually, they do. The acacia tree can find itself when an animal begins eating the leaves of the acacia. The tree also begins to produce poison. Poison means that it could lead to it makes the leaf taste very bad. So when the animals start to eat the leaves, it finds the very bad taste of this leaf, so it stops eating them. But it's a behavioral adaptation. The tree starts producing this poison when the animals start to eat the leaves. It's not found in the plant all the time. It only produces it when the animals start to eat. Also, it sends many messages in the wind to acacia trees nearby, telling them to start making the same poison. So it doesn't only protect itself, but also it protects the neighbor trees. So it starts to send this many message to her neighbor trees to start making the same poison to stop the animals eating their leaves. See how the plants are very interesting and really exciting to know that they can do such amazing adaptations, and they actually do behaviors and acts just like humans and animals. Now the kapok tree. Again, the habitat is the Amazon rainforest of Brazil. Starting with the structural adaptation, it has different types of roots. We said that the kapok tree lives in rainforests. It means that it rains most of the year, and it means that the soil is soggy and most of the year. So the tree needs to be firmly rooted in the soil. So it has buttress roots. And buttress roots are not planted deeply in the ground, but they grow high up on the ground, high up on its trunks, to hold the tree firmly in the soggy soil. So here it has a different type of adaptation. It doesn't need to be found deep underground to find water, because already water is found everywhere. It's already raining all the time, but it needs to keep the roots firmly in the soil, to hold it in the soil. Some of these roots can start up to 5 meters above the ground. So it's different from the acacia tree. Here the roots are above the ground and up to 5 meters above the ground. Also here the leaves has different structure. It has a hand-shaped leaves. It means it looks like a hand. With narrow parts that allow wind to move more gently through the leaves without tearing them. So if the leaf is wide and it's not a hand-shaped, the strong wind that is characterized by this habitat is gonna tear the leaf apart. And now is a behavioral adaptation, and also is very amazing kind of behavior that the kapok tree do. It uses the wind to send a different type of messages than the acacia. The kapok tree invites bats to come visit its delicious smelling flowers through these many messages. So here it also sends messages like the acacia tree, but it's different type of message. This message invites the bats. It sends this message to the bats. But why? Why a tree invites bats to eat its flowers? Actually, it's spreading the seeds to make reproduction. So it's a benefit to the tree. It's not something bad for the tree that bats come to eat its flowers. No, it's an advantage because they are going to spread the seeds of the kapok tree to grow another kapok trees. Also, the wind carries the trees' fluffy yellow seeds across the forest. The seeds of this tree is fluffy, so it can be carried by wind. So also the wind help the cacao tree to disperse the seeds and grow new trees. So check your understanding. Do you think the giraffe can continue eating a lot of leaves of acacia tree? Yes or no? And give a reason. Of course no. Why? Because when it starts to eat the leaves of acacia tree, the tree start produce poison that tastes very bad. So the giraffe will stop immediately eating the leaves. Botanist. Botanist means plant scientists. So the botanists study some plants. They study their habitats, their structure adaptation, and their adaptation. How this adaptation helps the plant to survive. First, the mangrove trees. Of course, everyone knows the mangrove trees, and it's found here in Sharm el-Sheikh, especially in Ras Muhammad and the Nab Protectorate. The habitat is salt water, and their structural adaptation, they have long and strong roots. These long strong roots, help the plant to resist the waves. As you can see, it lives in the salt water, and there is a lot of waves. It's strong waves that could wash out the plant. But what helps this plant to stay in the water is the long strong roots. Then the water lily. The habitat is a wetland, and it has wide leaves. Why? Float on the water surface. The wide leaf helps the plant to absorb a big amount of sunlight, because of course they are far from the sun, and there is a lot of trees that shade on the water lily, so it needs to absorb more sunlight. So how it can absorb more sunlight? By having a wide big leaves. Palm trees. Palm trees, of course, the habitat is the desert, and they have thick roots. It has small leaves, and both thick roots and small leaves help the plant to resist the strong winds. So the thick roots and small leaves help the plant to resist the strong winds of desert. The pine trees. Pine trees, as we said, the Christmas tree, their habitat is the snow. Their structural adaptation, this tree has a triangular shape, short branches and middle leaves. The triangular shape of this tree and its short branches allows the snow to slide easily over it. The snow slides over the plant, so its branches don't break. Imagine if this tree, like the acacia tree, is an umbrella shape, and it is snowing. It's snowing, so the snow is gonna accumulate over above the tree until it breaks. That's why it has a triangular shape. This triangular shape helps the plant to slide over the snow easily, so that the branches doesn't break. Also, the needle leaves prevent the plant from losing water. As we said, it lives in snow, so it's easy to lose water. So to prevent to lose water, it is stored inside the needle leaves. Acacia tree, as we said, the habitat is savanna. Its branches grow and gather on the top of its trunk. So why the branches at the top of its trunk? To prevent the animals from reaching the leaves on the tip of these branches. As we said, only giraffes can reach the leaves. Any other animals cannot reach because it's too high. And finally, the barberry fig. Barberry fig is the type of cactus. Of course, we know it and we eat it. It's habited in the desert and it has sharp spines. And the sharp spines is it's a typical character in many plants to prevent and keep animals from eating leaves and fruit. From the previous table, we can conclude that all plants have roots, stems, trunks, and leaves. Plants differ in the structure and shape of their roots, stems, and leaves to adapt the environmental conditions. So each plant have a different structure for the roots, for the stem, for the leaves, to adapt the environment and grow in their environment. So what happens if a plant is taken from its original environment and placed in another different environment? Of course, this plant may die or may adapt the new environmental conditions to survive and grow in its new environment. The plant, according to the new environment, or it can adapt to this environment or it cannot. If it cannot adapt, it's gonna die. True or false? Number 1, palm tree has short roots and big leaves. Is it right? Of course not, it's the opposite. It has long roots and small leaves. Number 2, water lily plant live in salt water? Of course not. It lives in fresh water of the wetland. Number 3, mangrove tree has long and strong roots to help the plant to resist the waves? Yes, of course. It has long and strong roots to help the plant to resist the waves. Identifying adaptations. We are going to choose the correct answer. These plants grow and survive in snow, the desert, rainforest. We see in the picture a cactus, so of course they live in desert. The roots of these plants are short, long, or small to absorb a big amount of water. Of course, the roots are long because they need to absorb big amount of water from deep underground. The leaves of these plants have sharp spines to prevent the animals from eating them, or to absorb a big amount of water, or to absorb a big amount of sunlight. No, we said that sharp spines is to prevent animals from eating them. Finally, the shape of the roots and leaves of these plants is considered as structural adaptation only, behavioral adaptation only, or structural and behavioral adaptations. The shape of roots and leaves of these plants, of course, they are structural adaptation only because they are found in the body of the plant. So this is a part of the plant body, so it's a structural adaptation. It's nothing to do with an action that it make or behavior. These plants in this picture grow and survive in snow, desert, rainforest. We can see in the picture a lot of trees growing, so of course there is a lot of water here, so it's a rainforest. The roots of these plants grow deeply in the soil, grow near the soil surface, come out of their leaves because it is easy to find water. Of course, they grow near the soil surface. It's a rainforest, so it doesn't have to grow deep in the soil, and of course, it cannot come out from the leaves. The leaves of these plants are big too, absorb a big amount of water, absorb a big amount of sunlight, resist the strong waves. Of course, too, because we are in the rainforest, so it is hard to find sunlight. So it is here to absorb a big amount of sunlight. And finally, the shape of the roots and leaves of these plants is considered as structural adaptation only, behavioral adaptation only, or structural and behavioral adaptations. Again, any change in the shape or structure in the plant body, so of course it is structural adaptation only. It doesn't make any action or behavior.